Dan Illman, Mike Beer kicking off a 50-cent pick four at Belmont at the Big A, race number 5 on Saturday. It's a really nice card. This could be a prep for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. It's the Gallant Bloom, a grade 2 going 6.5 furlongs. And let's take a peek at this field. The number 1, Carmel Swirl, even money. She's going to walk into the paddock at the Big A on Saturday. She's not going to see Echo Zulu. She's not going to see Goodnight Olive, and she's going to be thrilled.
It's a huge advantage for you, right, Dan? She's been keeping really good company basically right along over the last couple of years, actually holding her own in those races. Second in the Ballerina last year, missed third in that race by a nose this year. This is obviously a way better spot. She's tons the horse to beat in here.
She catches a short field, however, and a race that doesn't have a ton of pace. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector. The number 4 Begin seems to be much improved this year for trainer Ned Allard. She was on the lead last time out in a weaker race in Maryland and scored. There's a chance that she could get to the front in here. I don't think Carmel Swirl has to be so far back, Mike. I think she's adaptable and that Junior Alvarado will have her closer if this pace is slow.
I looked at her the exact same way, Dan. She's not going to be on the lead, but she won't be too far away if this pace doesn't get fast. But I do agree that Begin can make an easy lead in here, and that alone makes her dangerous.
Let's talk a little bit about Carmel Swirl's last race. It was the Ballerina. She was in against the 2 best older filly and mare sprinters in the country, and she kind of cruised up and had a look at this thing at the 5/16. They weren't going very fast, however, and just when Carmel Swirl was ready to be set down, the 2 fast sprinters got away from her. I thought all in all, first start off a short layoff, losing ground. It was a good effort. She can still step, and she finds the right field here.
I agree. I think she ran her race last time. But listen, you know, when Echo Zulu is showing up and running 112 buyers, Carmel Swirl can't win a race like that. She was good in the Better Roses 2-back against Goodnight Olive as well. Had a real shot at that race. She was still there coming down to the stripes, and she just got a little bit tired at the end. She's just good, Dan. She's not, you know, maybe she's just a cut below the top filly mare sprinters in the country, but she's right below them. Her good race is very good.
At a big price, the number 2 Sterling Silver does have the fastest late pace rating from Timeform US. Didn't show it last time in the Ballerina when finishing behind Carmel Swirl, but I guess she had the ready-made excuse. It was a muddy track. It wasn't a fast pace. She was facing horses that had it much easier on the lead. She's a likable New York bred that I still think has to prove it at this level.
Another one is just not quite a grade 1 quality horse, but she's pretty good. Before that Ballerina, Dan, she had come back as a 4-year-old this year. Nothing but good races on her card. I realize that there's some allowance races in there, a couple of starts against New York breds, that kind of stuff. She ran well in every one of those races. This is a great distance for her, and she's not in a particularly strong field here for a stakes race in New York. She's a contender in here, and she might be a fair price.
If you're looking for the new face, the horse with upside, maybe the 3 undervalued asset is for you. Very lightly raced 3-year-old for Chad Brown. She's only raced 6 times. Here's her most recent start, that 2-turn 7 furlong race at Charlestown against fellow 3-year-olds, the Oaks. She was up close to the pace throughout. She's in between horses. She's going to finish second to a sharp runner in Vava. She earned a career best 90 buyer speed figure for this race. It's her 3rd start since Derby week. And she's tactical enough, Mike, that she can stay close to Begin and potentially get the jump on the favorite.
I can see her getting a good trip in this race, Dan. Then I guess we'll just find out how good she is. I have to believe, and we'll see how it all plays out. 3-1 feels like a terrible price to me. I'll just point out that in that replay that we just watched there, where she's only 2nd best, that horse that she was hooked up with there through the length of the stretch that she couldn't get by, 96-1. Yeah, I mean, she barely got by that horse at the end. I didn't think she ran particularly well last time. I get it was a 2-turn race, and maybe that's not what she wants. That's not the kind of performance I'd want to be betting her back out of at 3-1 in particular.
And that filly Lake Frost did not come back and run very well in her subsequent start down at Maryland at a much shorter price. Begin is the 4, and it's worth noting that when she ran 6.5 at Aqueduct last fall over a wet track, she earned a triple-digit buyer speed figure. She looked very good doing it. She ran 2nd that day. Here's her most recent start, the Alma North. She got some class relief after running in the Better Roses against Goodnight Olive and Carmel Swirl. On paper, she really couldn't lose because she was the lone speed, and that's exactly how it played out.
Right, and maybe she'll get a similar trip in this race, Dan, where she'll get control early, and maybe that'll just be a big advantage for her. She runs fine in here, obviously, not good 2 starts back against Caramel Swirl, so we'll see if she can bounce back with a better performance. I mean, she has a race or two that makes her interested in here. I would just say that 101 buyer over course and distance last November figure doesn't make a lot of sense. It wasn't a good loss anyway to Rosa Veloce, but that figure doesn't make a lot of sense.
Remain Anonymous will be making her second start off of a lengthy layoff. She came back in a Pennsylvania bred stakes race last time out. It was a race where she kind of fell behind early. I wanted to see a little bit more out of her in the stretch, but it was her first start off the layoff. The problem is, at this point in her career, it seems like she wants something to run at, and she may not get it here as she steps up in class.
True enough, might not get that much pace in front of her here. I mean, I don't know. It feels like she's just in too tough to me. She has those 2 races last summer, those 2 wins, one at Saratoga, one at Parks with, mid 90 buyers, that I guess those 2 races give her some kind of chance in here, Dan. The problem is the other 23 starts of her career, because those races give her no chance.
Completing the field is the number 6, Headland, making her first start off the George Weaver claim. George Weaver having a sensational 2023. The good news for Headland is she has some speed. She can sit just off of Beguine. She figures to be right in the thick of things when the real racing commences. The question is she good enough? She makes her graded stakes debut in start number 41.
Right, and off the claim for Linda Rice, who had just taken this horse from Kentucky, and Linda Rice was claiming horse to Kentucky, bringing them to New York, and really improving them. And now George Weaver is in the position of having to improve the horse again off of Linda Rice. I think it's a tough ask for her. I didn't particularly like. I know it was a wet track, Dan. Didn't particularly like that last race, just because I don't like the horse that won it on the front end.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Gallant Bloom. It's race number 5 at Belmont at the Big A on Saturday. We're both going to go with Caramel Swirl. She's chased some toughies. This time, it might be her turn to bully around some fillies and mares.
It just kind of feels like it's the right spot for her, Dan. And I couldn't really find anybody that I was interested in betting against her with, even though she's going to be a short price. And I liked the 2 inside horses. Didn't really like anybody else.
That 1-2 exacta might be okay because the 2 might go off at an overlay in here, and she'll be running on at the end to at least pick up some pieces. Curious to see what Chad's 3-year-old filly does, but think Caramel Swirl finally gets it done in the grade 2 Gallant Bloom on Saturday. Best of luck.